Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. I just want to remind you guys who are watching on YouTube in the live chat, what's up live chat, just remember, go hit that like button as you are watching the show. Even if you're watching it late, hit the like button. It helps us out in the algorithm. And, you know, YouTube has only demonetized me for like over a year now. They don't really like me very much. So that will help us out. This is just a reminder. I make $0 from YouTube. Zero, none, zilch, nada. So yeah, just a reminder. You can slap the like button. That's okay. We like. You know what? I'm just going to leave that there. So apparently this morning, the RNC headquarters went on lockdown after there was a suspicious package addressed to Donald Trump, which is, I don't know. It's funny to me that people would actually address a package to Donald Trump and then send it to the RNC as if like that's where he resides. But you may be asking, well, what was in the package? Why did they put him on lockdown? Why did the hazmat team come in? 2 vials of blood. Yeah. The Associated Press wrote in an article about the incident, it was unclear to whom the blood belonged to. Really? You don't say. You couldn't tell just by seeing that it was blood who it belonged to. Wow. Thanks for letting us know. So I just, like, you have to wonder what kind of a kooky person does this? Like, how broken do you have to be? How sincerely, severely broken do you have to be to do something like this? Like, Donald Trump has broken these people, which, by the way, should also prove the point that these people who are doing these things, sending blood to Donald Trump at the RNC HQ, were probably pretty easy to break in the first place. I was going to say, like, when mean words is all it takes, a couple mean tweets, a couple insults to, you know, his political opponents, if that's all it takes to break somebody, you got to imagine they were probably only hanging on by just a really, really, really slim thread in the first place. And, you know, it just, like, every time I see something like this happen, it just reminds me how fearful these people are that Donald Trump is going to get reelected. They don't know what to do with themselves. And it's not just the activists or whoever the hell sent the blood. I don't know. I hope we find out. It's really freaking weird. Okay, but it's not just them. It's the Democrats in power. It's everyone who is broken by Donald Trump. And by the way, they should be scared. They should be fearful. I can't name one thing that is better for Americans under Joe Biden. Can you? Please let me know in the chat if you can think of one actual thing in this country that is better. How are you doing better in your life under Joe Biden than when Donald Trump was president? And by the way, I mean, I don't know. I would take COVID out. If you don't want to, that's fine. I would. Can you name anything? I can't name one damn thing that is better in my life with Joe Biden in charge of things. And instead of fixing it for us, by the way, okay, instead of trying to identify ways to make our lives better, fix our issues, close the border, lower the price of gas, come up with a solution for inflation that doesn't make it worse, they seemingly they're trying to do just that. They're trying to make it worse, it seems like. Right? It's almost like a punishment for not being obedient to the regime, for daring to complain. You want to complain about us thrusting the country you once knew off of a cliff? That's fine. We'll just weaponize every single federal alphabet agency against you. We don't care. We're not here to fix the problem. We're just here to remind you that we are the ones in charge and you will do what we say or else. And all these people, at least, you know, I mean, the deep state actors, okay, they are so brazen with this now, so arrogant that they don't even realize that we're onto their game. Like, they don't even realize that we see the DOJ and the FBI weaponizing against anyone who, I don't know, believes in conservative values, pro-life, low taxes, worn a red hat for once in their lives, maybe. All of them, including and up to, of course, a former president who has, 91 indictments? It's clear as day who these people are. And yet, you still have people like James Comey. Remember him? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bring him up. Sorry to be a downer. Remember the former FBI director, as like swampy and corrupt as it gets, James Comey? James Comey has crawled out of the woodwork to go on mainstream media saying things like this. Unironically, by the way, watch.
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions.
He
knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters. Because of a reason like that, people have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
Too severe. Imagine that. The consequences are too severe. You have pro-life protesters who are facing prison time for protesting outside abortion clinics. You have the top political opponent of the current regime on trial right now, facing jail time in just the one trial, 91 indictments for Joe Biden's top political opponent. Okay. You have January 6th grandmas who were walking into the Capitol because the doors were already open, by the way. They didn't know they weren't supposed to be there. They were just following everyone else. They were being guided by Capitol Police on a guided tour who are like facing decades of jail time. Totally nonviolent offenders, okay? Decades of jail time. And you mean to tell me the consequences are too severe if Donald Trump is in charge of the FBI and DOJ? And by the way, bro, you're telling me Donald Trump is finally going to burn down the FBI and the DOJ? Don't threaten me with a good time. Like, I was already sold. I was already going to vote for the guy. You don't have to keep selling me on it. That sounds awesome. It's about damn time. He should have done it before. I love that James Comey is like, well, I think he realized the mistake that he made in not doing it before. Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he sees it now. What with 91 indictments that he's having to defend himself on? I'm sure he sees it now. And I want you to pay really close attention to what little Jim is saying here, okay? Because, let's break it down. He said, he's going to put people in positions. Yeah, that's typically how it works. Why is that a problem, Jim? That's kind of the whole point. You worried all your moles are going to get fired? Oh, no. And then he says, he's going to put in people who want to do his will. Yes. As if the current resident of the White House doesn't have that same setup. As if that's not how it's always been. I mean, let's be clear here. The FBI reports to the DOJ. The DOJ is part of the executive branch. Look, I'm giving little Jim a civics lesson, okay? The FBI reports to the DOJ. The DOJ is part of the executive branch, which means who is the head of the executive branch? I can't quite remember if they taught that in high school. Oh, that's right. It's the president. So the DOJ reports to the president, which means if you go down the line, they all kind of serve at the pleasure of the president. They should want to do his will, which, by the way, that's not really a problem for little Jimmy now. It's not a problem for him now. I mean, he was literally saying what Joe Biden is doing right now, adding the corrupt part in, right? He's going to put people in that will be corrupt. Yeah, that's not a problem for you now, Jim, is it? What you just described is Joe Biden is actively doing that right now, but apparently Jim doesn't have a problem with that because it's all of his deep state buddies and they're safe. They're all mission aligned. Corruption is warranted if it achieves our end goal. But, hey, it would be a big problem if Donald Trump were to, oh my God, put his own people in just like everyone else has before, because you know what? Then they can't illegally spy on him, which they did. Then they can't insert a mole who's going to write op-eds for left-wing rags to sow discord about how terrible Donald Trump is. I'm staying anonymous, but I'm in Donald Trump's cabinet, and we need to relieve him as president. He's crazy. Yeah, they did that too. So maybe little Jimmy is scared that they can't work against their own boss from the inside, which they did his entire presidency the first time around. So it sounds to me like Mr. Deep State himself seems real threatened with the idea that Trump might have learned his lesson from the first time around, and maybe he might get serious about booting the Deep State bastards out. Great! I'm in. Sign me up. I'm already at the top of the list. Sign me up for the newsletter. I can't wait. And it just makes you realize how out of touch these people are. Like, is that supposed to sound scary to the average American watching you guys completely upend the justice system? Because again, as Donald Trump has always said, they are not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in the way. Do you really think that if they are not doing this, or that if they are doing this to Donald Trump, that they will not come for you? Of course they will. They already are. We're seeing it with the January 6ers. We're seeing it with the pro-life protesters. We're already seeing it. They've already started. Here's one more for you, okay? Jill Biden at a teachers union conference in New York this week. I'm going to give you a quote. She's trashing Donald Trump. Oh no, what will Donald Trump do to public education? What's he going to do? She said, I always believed that Joe would be the best education president. Donald Trump doesn't want to strengthen our public education system. He wants to destroy it. Oh no, you guys. I already said I was in. Like, you couldn't be selling this harder for me. If I didn't know any better, I would think these people were plants to psyop people into voting for Donald Trump. Like, that sounds awesome. You're telling me Donald Trump wants to destroy the institution that you guys built that isn't teaching our kids reading, writing, arithmetic. It's not teaching them how to critically think. They're coming out of school retarded and gay, sometimes literally. They're not being taught valuable skills, but they are being taught which fake pronouns they should use, that you're spending like, 80 billion of our taxpayer dollars to do all of that in a failed system, and Donald Trump wants to destroy that? Awesome. I was like, top subscriber, like sign me up. I'm sending my super chat money. That sounds awesome. Like, I was already in, but I'm going to cast my vote with that much more emphasis now. I'm going to cast my vote using that much more flair, knowing that I'm voting for the guy who wants to destroy the failed public indoctrination system. Great. I'm going to leave you with this quote from, I'm sorry, I called her Jill Biden this whole time without acknowledging Dr. Jill Biden, okay? A world in which public schools are privatized and their funding is gutted. Teachers' unions are marginalized and lesson plans are censored and books are banned. That's Donald Trump's world. In America, we don't ban books. Oh no, teachers' unions are going to be marginalized. Oh, well, what will Randy Weingarten think? She might cry. Oh no, lesson plans are censored. You mean you can't teach my children about anal sex? Oh no. Oh, book bans. Oh my God. No, Jill, we don't ban books. You're right. We don't. You can still find them on Amazon. We do, however, wish to keep our children away from books telling them that if they're white, they must be racist. And, oh, by the way, pornographic material in libraries, in school libraries. We do. In America, we do actually care and wish to keep our children away from pornographic material. Okay, if you want that gross shit, you can find it on Amazon. How about that, Jill? All right. When we come back, we've got good news. You know, we talk about COVID retribution all the time. I'm still pissed. All right. But we've got some good news from someone joining us here after the break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who are just living in constant pain and you think that's your life now. It does not have to be. Let me tell you about Relief Factor. If you've not heard about it yet, it's worked for me. It's worked for Glenn Beck. It's worked for so many people in the building. And it turns out, if you are living with constant pain, these daily aches and pains, arthritis, tennis elbow, knee problems, neck problems, whatever the case may be, it's inflammation usually, which is the root cause of the pain. And what Relief Factor does is it targets that inflammation in your body, so it actually gets rid of the root cause of your pain. It's not just going to mask it. It's going to be like just kind of a Band-Aid on it. No, it's actually going to get rid of your pain. And that can be life-changing. You can try it by going to relieffactor.com. Get the 3-week quick start. It is $19.95, and they do have a guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose except your pain. Get that over at relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. You know, one of the things that I try to do on this show is to never let people forget the absolute tyranny that took place in 2020 during the COVID era, because it seems like our lawmakers are not ever going to hold those accountable who deserve to be held accountable for all of that. And I know most people are back to living their normal lives. Like, oh, yeah, I kind of vaguely remember the days when the government forced me to stay home and wouldn't allow me to make a paycheck to feed my family and forced me to put a diaper on my face that they pretended worked, even though we all knew it didn't, all just to lead to pushing an experimental jab. I vaguely recall that. Yeah, can you tell I still have some animosity towards that? Yeah, I'm never forgiving them. So you may recall there were certain business owners during that time period who were like, yeah, screw you. We're defying all of your unconstitutional orders. And they went through hell, a lot of them. And one of them is joining me today with some good news. I want to welcome to the show Ian Smith. He is a former New Jersey gym owner who was targeted by local officials for not following New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's orders to close his gym. And Ian, welcome to the show. You just had a huge legal victory stemming from that battle.
Yes. Well, I am here to share some good news, and thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I want to get to the good news, but I want you to first take me back to 2020 here. Okay, you were charged with what, like over 80 charges for violating these public health rules. And did police ever? I know you kept your gym open. Did police ever arrest anyone, like gym goers or you guys, or what? How did that play out?
All of the above. So the municipal citations spanned over 2 years. We got a whole bunch of them within the first couple of weeks of opening up. And then they sort of stopped for a little while, and then we got some more, and then we got some more. And those tickets are all municipal citations ranging from violation of a governor's orders to public nuisance, zoning violations, and a couple other sort of miscellaneous arbitrary citations that were sort of just thrown at us really to scare us into shutting down. And when that didn't work, Governor Murphy took those municipal charges as well as a health department shutdown order and went before a judge. In New Jersey, we have appointed judges, not elected. So he went in front of his judge and he asked for a court order to close our business. And then that's where a lot of the really tangible, very scary punishments came in. We were being fined $15,497.76 per day for every day that we were in operation. The state took upwards of $200,000 from our bank account. We had members arrested. We had one member arrested. My former co-partner and I were arrested. We had our doors forcibly locked by the sheriff's department. When we refused to comply with that, they came to lock the doors again, and we took them off the hinges and stayed inside for protest for over a month. And they arrested us. They held us in criminal and civil contempt of court. So there was a 5-year prison sentence hanging over our head at one point for violating this court order.
Wow. So this is just, it's making my blood boil all over again, just listening to you lay this out. So I have to ask you, as this was going on, because it was very curious to me to watch those of the, whether it be officers or health inspectors or whoever the hell was coming in and having to enforce this. It was interesting watching how many of them were doing, it was all wrong, but it was interesting to watch how many of them were doing it and begrudgingly, right? Saying like, look, I agree with you. I don't want to have to do this. I'm just following orders, which again is still chicken shit. But like, how many of them were like, I'm sorry I have to do this? And how many of them were actually seemed to take pleasure in being this tyrannical nut?
Well, one of the big first stories of the gym was the first day that we reopened. And, we had this massive crowd of supporters, hundreds of people in the parking lot, hundreds of members, and there was a large police presence within the town. And the first video that we put out as an update was the captain of the Belmar Police Department sort of standing in front of the gym midway through the day and making this announcement that everybody thought that he was going to have something bad to say. And he actually, to replay it, he said, "You're all here in violation of a governor's orders." And the crowd sort of got very angry, and he dramatically sort of stuck his finger up and said, "On that note, everybody be safe and have a nice day." So there was a lot of them, and obviously he was relieved of duty or he retired right after that. And his second in command was very, very happy to come and lick boots for Governor Murphy. So there was a wide variety of guys. The New Jersey State Police, to their credit, refused the order to come in. So we've had a tremendous amount of respect for what they did. And, it was hard being in that position, being, somebody who, wants to be supportive of police, but when the police are the apparatus that is carrying out these unjust treatments, it's very hard to not feel some animosity. But yeah, there's a mixture. There's guys that love to do this and, guys that didn't. And unfortunately, during COVID, we saw a lot of the good police officers and public officials forced out of their jobs. And they wound up getting replaced with not people who are looking to protect and serve, but are here to be rule enforcers, no matter how absurd.
Right. Yeah. So your good news is you've gone through this, it's been almost 4 years of a legal battle against all of these unconstitutional charges, and a municipal judge over there in New Jersey has just dropped the charges?
Yeah, so, like I said, those municipal charges, they didn't hold a whole lot of weight other than the fact that they were one of the fundamental parts of what the state based its punitive case on us up in the higher courts. So, they were largely ignored by the state and by the township that wrote them. And, a year went by and 2 years went by and then 3, and, we were rounding the bases to 4 here. And we've continuously tried to get this moving because we knew that it was important. We knew that if we could take one of the legs out, that we could probably topple this whole thing. So we kept sort of just asking for discovery. And, eventually the judge upheld the law. She gave the state and the township more than enough time to produce something. And neither one of those, not the state nor the town, produced a single document in relation to the case, because we know that they were just writing these. They were firing off the hip. They didn't expect people to push back, and they just panicked. And these people are not used to people wagging a finger in their face and saying no. So they never wanted to touch these cases because nobody wants to put their name on it because they know it's unconstitutional. And after 4 years, the judge finally had enough. She said, I can't put these gentlemen through this any longer. And, she was very clear that this was going to be dismissed with prejudice, meaning that the state can't revisit these charges. And she looked at all of them. We had about 40 apiece, somewhere over 80. And she read them off one by one and dismissed them all based on the violation of a right to a speedy trial. And then there was a separate basis for a couple of other tickets we were fined for operating without a mercantile license. And she found that the township had no authority to issue, to take away, or to punish for mercantile licenses because in New Jersey, you're licensed through the state as a health club.
So this is great. It's good news, and I'm very happy for you. But I want to ask you, and I don't want to bring it down, but are you just out? How much money are you out, and do you get to recoup those costs? Because I'm sure that it was not cheap to have a lawyer defend you for nearly 4 years.
No, it certainly wasn't. And, to the credit of all of the amazing people who supported the gym throughout this, we could not have gotten this far if it were not for the generosity, not only financially, but just people's time and energy and emotion. Our friends and allies in the mainstream media, our small broadcasters who gave us a voice over and over again, and the people who were just there for us, that came to the gym, that bought T-shirts, that donated. But yes, it was extremely expensive, all combined between the two of us, both out of cost or out of pocket and donations and money that we were able to raise from T-shirts. This ordeal has cost us well over $750,000, if not closer to it. And that's not including just operating costs or anything like that. That's legal bills and things that we had to do to go above and beyond. So, the good part about this, this dismissal is that it doesn't make it all go away yet. All of these looming threats are still kind of there. I don't see the state really being aggressive moving forward because, they've slowed down dramatically over the past 2 years. And, once we got our business licenses back, I think they kind of hoped that we would just let it go. But But now that this crucial piece is missing, we have an opportunity to go back and say, hey, let's look at this court order, that was based on these charges that are proven to be invalid. And that opens up the discussion. We'll have to chat with our attorneys, and everybody's got to decide what they want to do. But it does certainly open up the possibility of moving forward and first undoing the damage, but then making it right as well. And in the end, ultimately some justice for the people who grossly abuse their power in New Jersey.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, Ian, not that my vote matters at all, but I vote for the option that makes you whole again, because I think it's absolute BS that you were forced to defend yourself against clearly the entire time, clearly unconstitutional government, big tyranny orders. So I'm very happy for you. This was a win. So we're going to count our W's where we can. I appreciate you joining us. And I do have to say, I'm giving your beard a 10 out of 10. It's like the best beard ever.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Ian. See ya. Okay. All right. So I love beards. Okay. Sue me, I guess. All right, we got to take a quick break here. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor, Jace Medical. So, if there wasn't enough global instability, if there wasn't enough instability just in this particular country with, the supply chain and everything like that, the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is likely to be destructive and costly and has the potential to be one of the most active on record. Yay, more good news abounds. And I'm just saying, with all of this instability, with all of these, potential for hurricanes and, just like all of these, emergencies, I'd say. You need to remember, we talk about emergency food all the time. You need to remember, not only do you need emergency medical supplies, you also need emergency medicine. Okay, and Jace Case can do just that. So what Jace Case is, by Jace Medical, is it provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, and it's going to be there when you need it. Because imagine, you've just gone through this horrible hurricane that's either knocked out the supply chain or just knocked out your own town, and you're trying to get your kid antibiotic because they have strep throat. That could actually be deadly if you can't get the antibiotic. So this is what this is for, okay? All you have to do is fill out a simple form online and you will have it there when you need it, just like emergency food. They've also got a bunch of different add-ons as well, EpiPens, ivermectin. You can customize it to meet your family's needs. And Jace Medical wants to empower people just like you to be able to take your family's health into your own hands. Check them out. You can go to jacemedical.com, use promo code Sarah. That is JASE medical.com, promo code Sarah. I want to welcome my guests today. We have John Doyle, BlazeTV contributor and host of Heck Off Commie in the house, and Jason Buttrill, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program, who's doing a little night at the Roxbury.
Oh, old school.
Yeah.
Aged yourself then.
Can we start over? Just kidding.
Seat is like cursed. Whoever sits there just gives you a hard time. That's my hat.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm sure, it's early into your appearance here. I'm sure you'll also give me a hard time at a certain point today. Screw you, Jason. All right. So earlier in the show, I was talking about James Comey going on MSNBC and was like, oh my God, you have to vote for Joe Biden because Donald Trump, if he's elected, he's going to totally upend the DOJ and the FBI. And I was like, great, sign me up. Yeah. So we talked yesterday about the unsealed filings in the getting my Donald Trump indictments mixed up in the classified documents case for Donald Trump, and how Julie Kelly had posted all of these different places where the FBI and the DOJ had apparently told people be prepared to use lethal force, like they signed off on allowing the use of lethal force. And that sounds crazy to me. Now, I did say, I don't know if that's standard protocol, but it does seem strange, even if it was standard protocol, that you would still authorize that for a classified documents case for papers for a former president. Like, that just seems strange.
Yeah. Can I weigh in on that?
Please.
So you talked about this yesterday?
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, because the FBI responded to that, and they were like, yeah, this is like standard.
Well,
and on the surface, yes,
I was going to get to that.
That would be standard. Oh, that was the next.
I was going to get to the FBI statement.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But to me, it's a reminder of how ridiculously unprecedented this was. This doesn't happen. I can guarantee you there was no, authorization for deadly force when they searched through the old man's garage and his university closet. They didn't have to go that far because you didn't stage a big public fiasco, which that's what this was. They were willing to risk a confrontation with the Secret Service and Trump's other private security, all that stuff, for a public display.
Right.
That's thank you for the reminder of that.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing here for me.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on this, John?
I couldn't agree more. I think that the extent to which they're willing to go to humiliate and demoralize or even harm the president is certainly unprecedented. And it just goes to show what they believe Donald Trump represents as a sort of ambassador for the American people, because we've been covering this for years. He's not really traditionally a conservative. He probably hasn't done all the reading, but he does actually seem to represent.
Probably.
Well, I mean, he's too busy writing his own books to do the reading of this other sort of literature, but he does seem to represent, for whatever reason, an avatar that can channel the, I guess, grudges that the American people have against the ruling class. And so I think that they actually do believe, to a certain extent, a lot of the stuff that they say about this sort of lingering coup that's going to happen, and he's going to weaponize the DOJ and, purge the bureaucracy of people who are disloyal, which every other president, who's been effective, has been able to have a mechanically functioning administration. It was only Donald Trump who wasn't able to have that for whatever reason.
Right.
So you have to assume, I'm not a big believer in like the pendulum theory, but I think they understand that they have taken it to a level where even people who are willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, whether they're American citizens or people working in D.C., are now going to be ready to more or less take the gloves off during the second Trump administration.
I'm glad you said humiliate and demoralize, because the other drops that Julie Kelly was releasing was the actual logs of every time they went in and searched the former First Lady's room.
Yep.
And his son.
Barron's
they
room,
went into
bedroom.
They went into a minor child's bedroom and looked through it. What is the point of that? Except if it's not just to demoralize.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Well,
and humiliate. That's it.
Right. And what is the point of putting Stormy Daniels on the stand to...
Same thing.
Yeah, to talk about, it was so gross. Oh, Donald Trump was laying on the bed. It's the same reason, to humiliate him. Yeah. It's all a humiliation process.
A case about business documents.
I know.
And usually you get a slap on the wrist and a fine, but instead in a small-town case like that, we got to hear about the former president's wiener.
Right.
Humiliate and demoralize.
Yeah.
It's the process.
Yeah. That's the point. So I know that there have been some competing thoughts on, the FBI says this is just standard policy and procedure. I know there are some on the right who have kind of defended that as well. But I will say, for the record, Dan Bongino, I like him. He certainly has a lot of experience in that realm. He was former Secret Service. He did say this is absolutely a big deal. Don't buy the bullshit otherwise. It was not a standard op. The Mar-a-Lago raid was an unprecedented action with significant potential for confusion and blue-on-blue issues and conflict. And then he goes on to say only a dumbass would pitch it's the standard paperwork line. Go serve a search warrant at the White House in the cocaine case while filling out your standard paperwork and see how that works out for you. Wake up. Now, I'm not calling anyone a dumbass who has a different opinion like Dan Bongino is. He has a right to his opinion. But what I am saying is he does have a point. Go serve a search warrant at the White House in the cocaine case.
Yeah, with something like that, or even like the slap on the wrist stuff with this sort of financial improprieties, it only happens for Trump. And with how deep they've been digging, anything that they could have played, they would have played probably prior to 2016 in terms of like big stuff. Their big thing was the Access Hollywood tape. That was their October surprise. And since then, they've had to just come up with all of these like weird business dealings. But even, any member of Congress, you could almost just like throw a dart and just pick one randomly and look into their financials and probably find something that's more indicting than what they found with Donald Trump. The same way that, our boy Kyle had a dice roll at an Antifa rally and ended up coming up with like 3 sex offenders. It's like, these are not good people at any level of the pyramid.
Yeah, that quote you read from at the beginning on James Comey about how he's going to, weaponize the DOJ. Does he listen to what he's saying here?
No, he doesn't. It's incredible. He's like, oh no, he's gonna pick his own people that are gonna come in there and corrupt it. It's like, are you living in this time period right now?
We were talking about before this. There was a podcast between Megyn Kelly and Bill Maher, and Bill Maher, in part of that, also that was one of his big points, was how we cannot get this guy in. He's going to turn the government to an authoritarian, system. He's going to go after his political enemies. Oh, will he raid Joe Biden's house afterwards? Will he do a shock and awe campaign about people that show up for a demonstration?
Right.
Will he arrest grandma and grandpas because they were at January 6th, or because they might have happened to show up to a pro-life rally? All that stuff is happening now.
Dude, it's so crazy too, because if I could give one complaint about Donald Trump in that regard, my complaint would be he said he was going to lock her up, right? Yeah. Lock her up about Hillary. Yeah. Hillary, did he? No, I wish he had. I wish that he had already done these things. So that's my complaint, is he didn't do those things. He didn't weaponize those agencies against the people that we wanted him to, that he said he was going to. And that was that was a fault.
Not even weaponize. Just hold them accountable for breaking the law.
Thank you. What they're doing is weaponizing.
That's what they're doing.
I'm just saying, you should have utilized those agencies to hold these criminals accountable, because they are criminals. He instead didn't do that. And now they're still like, oh no, he's going to come in and do these things. It's like, he already came in and didn't do it. I wish he would have. Maybe we wouldn't be dealing with this shit now.
He did say, to his credit, I think recently, that he tried to play ball with these people because he had the locker up rhetoric, and then he said, I thought we should just get along or whatever. Yeah. And he has mentioned that he's learned his lesson.
They don't care to get along.
Regard. Well, yeah, the
other side does not care to get along with us.
Exactly, and I think American patriots are waking up to that reality, that it is sort of a dog-eat-dog world, and if we don't decide to prevent these people from occupying echelons of power where they can mobilize it against American patriots, against anybody who's working to stop them, then they're perfectly happy to just do that to us instead.
Yeah. Okay, I want to make sure that I have time for this, and it's really good. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then I want to play for you guys. I'm sorry, I saw it, so you have to as well. A clip from The View. You may not realize this, but if you're wearing a MAGA hat, John, where's your MAGA hat?
I left it in the car. I can go get it if you would like to.
It's okay. If you're wearing a MAGA hat, you might as well just...
Is it in there with the swastika flag and all that other crazy stuff?
The swastika flag is in the front seat. The MAGA hat is in the back seat.
All right, so let's go through that when we come back. But I want to remind you guys, before we take a quick break here, make sure that you go to shopblazemedia.com. If you have not yet already. We've got lots of fun. It's not just my stuff. Yeah, that's my show logo. I don't know why, if you love my show so much that you want a hoodie with my show logo on it, you're more than welcome to get that. But they've also got a lot of fun, patriotic memorabilia there as well. They've got tote bags, hoodies, mugs, stickers, a whole lot more. Get one of those SG stickers and stick it on your computer. All right, you can go find whatever you would like over at shopblazemedia.com. Use promo code Sarah10 to get 10% off. Times are hard in Joe Biden's America. We'll take all the savings we can get. Shopblazemedia.com, promo code Sarah10. Now, I always hesitate before I play a View clip, because it's it's all garbage and we know it's garbage, but it is still on the air. So people must still be watching it. And so I do think it's important to play what the other side is saying and also consuming. And so I want to play this. I'm very sorry. But this is The View's take on people wearing the MAGA hat. Watch.
And by the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that.
The swastika?
Because we see it anyway.
The bottom line is, this isn't good for any of us. I mean, this is what it comes down to. It's not good for any American. This is not the American way. This is not the promise of America. She doesn't always get it right, correct, but we know we can fight to make it better. When you have someone who says, I'm going to get rid of all criticism, I'm going to get rid of anything that's dissenting, this should make everybody really scared. One of the great things about this country is that you can stand here and say, you know what, I don't like how the country's being run. And you know that nobody's going to come and snatch you up for saying that. You want to keep it that way.
Really?
That's why it's important. We'll be right
back. She was literally describing what we're living in right now and saying Donald Trump will do all these things. She was literally describing the Biden regime.
Yeah, these are not real people. Like, you need to understand, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to think to yourself, oh, I wish I had spent more time like trying to reason with people who unironically watch The View and think this is like intelligent political commentary. Maybe 10 years ago, where you had this sort of like Democrat coalition that had a little bit of pro-environmentalism, maybe some anti-war stuff. All of those positions are now completely abandoned. Like, they're pro-environmentalism, not because they're against pollution, because if you talk about which countries are actually most responsible for the pollution in the oceans, well, they don't want to talk about that because those are third world countries and we have to be really nice to those countries because otherwise that is racist. What they mean is they don't want you to have a cool car. They don't want you to be able to purchase gasoline or things like that. They don't have like legitimate claim to any of these issues anymore. I mean, they're all shilling for the war in Ukraine. If you don't do that, you are literally Hitler, and that's why the MAGA hat is so indiscernible, even though Donald Trump was like against that conflict from day one in terms of getting involved in it, and even said that if he were still in office, it wouldn't have happened in the first place, which is true. And that's why the issues that poll the highest among that coalition are simply like these abstractions like defending democracy, crushing, insurgent white supremacism, things of that nature, not actually like real issues. And so I think that we tend to make the mistake on this side of thinking that these are like real people who can be reasoned with. And you do kind of have to understand, if you are at this point still a Democrat voter, you are looking at what the Democrat Party is offering, which is open borders, child genital mutilation, all of these things, as opposed to what the Republican Party is offering, which is just simply like maybe some more economic freedom, maybe a closed border, very like basic issues. And you are saying, well, this is actually a closer approximation to what I want the world to look like than what these guys are offering. And there's not really an innocence that can be claimed in that case. Like, maybe it would be one thing if Republicans were talking about more wars in the Middle East and tax cuts only for the rich, as opposed to what Trump did, which actually returned money into the pockets of middle-class families as well. But it's literally saying, like, I am willing to sacrifice human lives, the country, all of this, if it makes like my caricature that Whoopi Goldberg told me exists for Republican voters angry. And so all of that is just worth throwing away if it just makes people like us angry.
Yeah, I agree.
What context was that even about? Because they were talking about the MAGA hat, and they started talking about silencing dissent.
Right.
Which,
well, I think because you might as well put a swastika on your hat, because the MAGAs are, of course, the true Nazis. They want to silence dissent. They want to do all of these things. They want to punish you if you don't agree with them.
But
sound familiar?
And it's funny because they'll be the first ones. They're like, well, what do you think about hate speech? Should that be allowed? Right. Oh, hell no. You know, like, shut it all down. Right. You know, like, there's such a disconnect between exactly kind of what you were saying is it's interesting to your typical Democrat voter. What exactly are they voting for? I don't know if they're voting for niceness. I think maybe that's the majority of what they think. They just think the Democrat Party is nice and really cares for the little guy. Can you really say that anymore?
No.
I don't. The Democratic Party of the 60s, or like the Kennedy years, is not at all what they are now.
No. Not
at all what they are now. So I'm having a hard, I mean, it's kind of a hard thing to even really talk about in detail, because a lot of the Republican Party and a lot of the Democratic Party, if you ask them what they actually agree with or disagree with, they probably agree with a lot more than what they disagree with at this point. There's a small few right now that really stand for, I'm absolutely against central planning. I am for small government. I am for the Bill of Rights. You could probably, this would be scary if you just set all of them down and have a serious conversation about the Bill of Rights. How many of them from both parties would not agree with most of the Bill of Rights? The Second Amendment, the First Amendment, unauthorized search and seizure. I mean, tons of them, they would say, get rid of that one, strike that one, get rid of that one, strike that one. That's the direction we're moving in right now. That the uniparty is a real thing, and that is the direction they're going in. I don't really know how you scale that back or how you fix that.
Yeah, I don't either, because, I mean, I think to both of your points, it is truly stunning to me when you look at how close this election is, because you like, I think to myself, there's no way that people are still going to fall for this Nazi swastika garbage when you're literally paying twice as much, if not more, at the grocery store. You could barely afford to fill up your gas tank. You see all of these illegal immigrants flooding through the border coming to a city near you. And you can't, there are cities who have their schools shut down because they are housing illegal immigrants in the schools. Like, you have to imagine that this horrible administration is reaching everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's like, how is it still neck and neck? Like, that actually scares me, that these people are so pre-programmed to just be like, ew, no, Nazi, ew, and then still vote for this, knowing what they know, feeling what they feel, seeing what they see. I don't get it.
I was just watching, it was an interview, One America maybe, I can't remember who it was, but they were in the Bronx, and they just started talking to a bunch of people because Trump's supposed to go back there and do like a rally or something or make an appearance. And they talked to 2 black people and like 1 white dude. And they all pretty much said the same thing. They said that this is ridiculous. People that aren't even citizens of this country are getting more benefits than we are. Like, what's that? That makes no sense. Right. People are starting, and I'm really curious what the black vote's going to be on this.
I know, I am
time.
too.
I am. I know he's I think doubled or whatever from the last, but it's got to be way more than that. Yeah. I've talked to so many of my black friends. They're like, and they were Democrats before.
Oh, Jason just tried to throw that in so people wouldn't think that he's racist. So many of my black friends. I have so many black friends you would not even believe. I'm kidding.
But no, like, seriously, I mean, it's like, and the majority of them are Democrats. Right. And they're like, I don't know, most of them actually said they're not going to vote because they don't agree with either side. Yeah. But I mean, that you have completely lost.
But so that, I know we got to go to a break, but so that is like, that's what gets me too, is like, it's not just them. It's not just the black voters who might stay home because they won't vote for either. It's also all the pro-Palestinian people who are really pissed at Joe Biden right now.
What do you mean them? What did you mean by that? That sounded loaded.
The black voters that
yeah, but you know how they're always like,
Jason was talking.
What do you mean they? What do you mean them?
What do you mean you people?
Oh yeah.
I am a minority. I am a person of color, and I also am 2% sub-Saharan African. So I'm just speaking about myself. Okay, we got to go to a break. I'll be right back. Let's play a game called What Did Joe Biden Just Say? Okay, this is Joe Biden talking about some act that he signed into law during a speech earlier this week. Watch.
Let me close with this. After I signed the PAC Act into law.
Pack Cadillac into the wall. Pack Cadillac into the wall.
Can you play that one more time?
Let me close with this. After I signed the PAC Act into law.
PAC Act into law.
I think he was talking about recovering his high score in Miss Pac-Man after having run into the wall and almost being surrounded by the ghosts. He was able to recover and go through one of the shortcuts and safely get to a non-ghost occupied side. That was what I heard. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, because I heard something about his friend Pat and his Cadillac and something about
probably
a wall.
Pat Gray, very popular.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I just can't. 4 more years. Can you even imagine?
I'm looking forward to the debate, man. He showed up for that last one with whatever drugs they pumped into him in the State of the Union. I'm sure they'll do the same thing now, but
it'd be hard to just say no to that. I mean, that would be an interesting concaction of uppers.
Yeah, yeah.
Sean.
To affect him?
Yeah.
There's like 12 dead horses out back where they had to test it on.
If a normal person took that, we could solve traffic. Yeah. It's like the limitless drug.
And we'd win every single Olympics in every sport.
Say no to drugs, kids.